Welcome back, everybody, to the show. Let's start with some economic news. I will play for you in a second here an Eric Trump clip on Fox Business that just in a few seconds portrays a fundamental fallacy of the Trump administration's justification for a lot of things, which is kind of like we're seeing on the crime front, definitely on the economic front. You lie a bunch about what you inherited and the situation that you're in. Yeah, everything has to be an emergency to justify emergency actions, obviously. But when on many fronts, Trump wasn't handed an emergency, definitely not on the economic front, all of a sudden that becomes far more irrational. These drastic steps that he's taking economically that are causing the economic metrics now to start come in worse and worse. And that happened with the producer price index. But play for me this soundbite, Cole.
I think the good parts are the Trump economy and the bad parts are the Biden economy.
That argument only works if people buy into the idea that Trump was handed an economy in shambles. And that's the subject of the Eric Trump clip that just in a few seconds is pretty embarrassing what plays out. Before getting to that, the news that this is happening sort of in the context of costs were sharply on the rise for producers. This was a CNN article titled "Businesses Have Been Eating Trump's Tariffs." That's starting to change. A sign that higher prices could soon filter down to American consumers. So we talk a lot about the consumer price index, and that's how we're measuring what are costs doing for consumers. You go in to buy something, have the prices gone up? Consumer price index. The producer price index often is a predictor for what's about to come for consumers because it's how are the prices increasing for the businesses buying the stuff that then they're going to sell to you. And so if those prices start going up, for a second, businesses can just eat it. But we can predict pretty confidently that as this keeps up, now with this hot PPI report, it's going to be passed down to consumers inevitably. The latest producer price index, which measures the average change in prices paid to producers, jumped 0.9% from June, lifting the annual rate to 3.3%, which, just to give you a sense of people who follow this on a day-to-day basis, their reaction, here was a CNBC host shocked.
Be very careful how we look at some of these numbers. We're a couple seconds away, folks, from our July release of the producer price index. Headline number is whoppingly big. Oh my goodness. Up 0.9%. Up 0.9. And if you strip out food and energy, guess what? It's still up 0.9. Boy, that equals June of 22. You're to March of 22 on the headline to find a bigger number. On the core number, that would comp to March of 22, since we've had a number of that magnitude when it was 1.2%. These are kind of COVID distorted numbers. Now, let's look at ex-food energy.
So if we're seeing this on the producer price index front, then we are very close to a more significant, we've seen an uptick already in inflation generally, but a more significant impact there. And so it makes just ridiculous and silly the Scott Jennings of the world, who after a few months of Trump imposing tariffs and pausing them, and businesses just kind of waiting, they're not going to do huge adjustments yet. They're doing some, but not huge, because they're trying to figure out what's going on. And people like Scott Jennings were going, the economy hasn't collapsed. This is magnificent. See, Trump was all right. But little by little, like with the jobs market info that Trump freaked out over and stuff like this, we're starting to see those ripples. And so with that in mind, here is Eric Trump on Fox Business trying to perpetuate that idea, which is that Trump was handed something terrible. So you can't really blame him for any bad metrics because he's just fixing everything. But that's flipping reality on its head, and the host has to go, well, actually, you're wrong.
I'm glad I look at the 401ks and I see how much they've gone up. And I'm glad I look at inflation and see how much it's gone down. I'm glad interest rates are going to come down. I mean, we're getting our country back. We were in a dark spot. You know this better than anybody. You cover the markets every single day. And
well, let me just be clear. Under Biden in the last year, the S&P had 56 record highs. But that said.
So quick, so sweet. He goes, I mean, you follow the market every day. It was a shit show. She goes, well, yeah, except for how it kept doing better and better. But like, besides that, totally, Eric. As we continue through the segment, please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate the show. So much to go through on today's show. But despite what I just mentioned to you, both inflation generally up going up, but they're taking credit for the fact that it hasn't skyrocketed yet. And what I just read out to you, the only solution for Trump, I guess, is to just make up facts like inflation's coming down, he argues.
We're also fighting the menace of inflation to make life more affordable for American seniors, and we've ended Biden's inflation nightmare. So we had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and now our inflation is down to a perfect number, a beautiful number, hardly any at all. And yet our country is taking in tens of billions of dollars and trillions of dollars, actually trillions of dollars in tariffs. And you know all about it. It's been amazing.
So while he's arguing that, he's explaining exactly why he's lying, which is if we're taking in trillions, he says, it could be tens of billions, many dozens of billions, hundreds of billions. And actually, now I think of it, trillions. And actually, now I think of tens of trillions we're bringing in tariffs. And as he's saying that, you have to think to yourself, I know we've gone through this a lot, but if you just stumbled across American politics, just what is the tariff? What is it even saying? It's just tax. So on American importers. So if he's both trying to argue that we're bringing in all this revenue, he says for other countries, that's a lie. You go, well, where's that coming from? And we just saw in the producer price index exactly where it's coming from. And it's only a matter of time before consumers feel that even more intensely. So in one statement, yes, he's just lying about inflation coming down and it being lower than it was under Biden. But he's also giving you an indication of why that has to be a lie with his we're taking in trillions.
Say, why are we taking in so much money? Last week they found $29 billion and they couldn't figure out where it came from. I said, check the tariff shelf. And they said, how did you know that's where it came from? We're taking in.
Yeah, you're saying your government officials didn't know where $29 billion came from? I don't even know what he's saying there. So just wait, because now that we're getting more bad news, he's going to find someone to blame for it, like how he did with the BLS commissioner. And he replaced the previous one for accurately reporting on the jobs market with this guy, E.J. Antoni. E.J. Antoni is a MAGA loyalist, and his job, obviously, is probably going to be to make the numbers look better. Or he'll be fired. And maybe that will be the next fold in this story, because it's not like he unilaterally gets to decide what the numbers are. This is just a process of a bunch of people working, statisticians figuring out what the jobs market looks like. But he was picked because he's a MAGA loyalist. And I showed you before, it's kind of strange, just a photo of him sitting in front of how in his house he just does Zoom calls in front of a Nazi battleship. Whatever. It's weird. Who knows? He just likes it. But now we learn he was at the Capitol on January 6th. Where do they find these people? Also, how many people were, I know technically how many people were there. Are they just pulling up footage from January 6th and then going, all right, what job should this person get? What job should this person get? Because we just heard someone high up in the DOJ was charged with January 6th crimes, was at the Capitol on January 6th. And apparently this guy was as well. There he is. Midas touch. Trump's pick to lead the Bureau of Labor Statistics, E.J. Antoni, was spotted in the crowd at the Capitol during the January 6th insurrection. The White House says he was a bystander who wandered over after seeing news coverage. Didn't we all? What's going on over there at the Capitol? Ooh, stop the steal. I don't know. I got swept up in the moment. Yeah, this is the photo of him just doing a casual Zoom call with his favorite little ship there. And then what looks like, what is that? Is that Buddha? That's kind of an interesting convergence of imagery. I can't tell what that is. That Buddha? Do you have Buddha behind you, EJ? It's just Buddha and Hitler. It's not Hitler. It's a battleship. The guns are cool on it. It has really cool guns. I'm just fascinated by it. Justin Wolfer says, just an honest labor statistician collecting the data, crunching the numbers, and reporting them fairly, and definitely not an extremist ideologue with an axe to grind, unshackled from respect for the law or political norms. And then there's that photo. He just got swept up in it. What can you say? So that's where things stand there.